Hello everyone, my name is Untitled from Underworld. In this video I'll be showing you how to mix screaming vocals for trap metal or trapcore, whatever you want to call it, really. For this recording I used a pretty old condenser mic, the same one as I'm using to record this right now, with a basic pop filter. So that's pretty simple, that's all you need to record vocals. Now this is how it sounds like without effects.
Mike, my foul! I need you to make my foul!
And this is with effects.
Mike, my foul! I need you to make my foul! I need you to make my foul!
So to record vocals you need to select a mixer channel and select an input, and if you press Ctrl E it will open up De-Esser. Great VST for recording vocals. What I like to do is use a limiter, sometimes a compressor before the De-Esser. It just helps keep the vocals, the levels much more consistent here, as you can see. And it's way easier when you have to gain stage everything and all that. So I just use this limiter with this preset vocal limiter. But you can use the Fruity limiter or even a compressor too. So when you've recorded your vocals, you drag them into your playlist, and in here you're gonna make sure you select crossfade. The reason you do this is because in between the words there might be some annoying breaths and random noises that you want to cut out. They're pretty much non-audible in the final mix, but you still want to cut them out just because, you know, you like to keep it clean. Some artists may like to keep some breaths in there for some raw, energetic feeling, but I generally just like to cut all of those out. And by using crossfade, you can prevent your vocals from clipping or popping, or clicking, popping, all that. So by crossfading, you can effectively fade in and fade out every little track here. And when you've done this with all your vocals, you can right-click out here and select Consolidate this track. And what it will do is that it will consolidate all of this into one track, but all the breaks will be completely silent because you cut those out. So now to the fun part, the mixing effects chain. So you see we have a few effects here. Most of them are from Waves and paid, but I do use Fruity Balance, free stock plugin here, and Parametric EQ2. And then Softtube Saturation Knob, which is a free saturation plugin from Softtube. It's really great, I think you should get it, definitely. So for starters, I use the Parametric EQ2 to cut out some resonances. There's one here that's very annoying. I think it has something to do with my room acoustics, but yeah, this is always very prominent in my vocal recording, so I always remove that. You know, just cut some resonances there. And after that, I open up SSL channel stereo. Now you'll find that a lot of metal producers use this. It's very popular, especially for like mixing screaming vocals and guitars and all that. So I'm gonna explain what this does. This is essentially an EQ. You're EQing into a compressor here on the right side, you can see. So for starters, you cut everything below 100 Hz here, and then again a low shelf here. You cut it again, 120, but just slightly, -4 dB. And here on the high frequencies, I like to boost around 8 or 9K, quite a lot, and around 4.5K too, because this is where the consonants usually are in your vocals, for screaming vocals at least, and it helps the vocals to be much more punchier, and you generally want that when you're using screaming vocals because it just sounds like you're screaming so much more harder than you actually are. And you can even boost it even more, up to like 6 dB. And here I also boosted 2K. I used to try to cut the mud by using this here, but I found that if I just used a Parametric EQ for that before, I could use this VST exclusively as an additive EQ plugin. So I just do that here. It makes a really big difference. And now with the compressor here, you're gonna use the 6:1 ratio, fastest release and attack, and you wanna adjust the threshold so that the vocal is around these areas here. You do not want them to peak into the red areas here. Now this plugin reduces the dynamics a lot, and it reduces the overall volume level, but that's okay because those other ones here are gonna make up for that. So the next one is a De-Esser, also from Waves. It has a really cool monitor feature here, so I can just show you what it cuts out of my vocals.
I need you to make
You can see it cuts some annoying frequencies out, and especially now there isn't any S's here, but if there was, it would probably cut a lot of sharp S's to make them softer. It also does this with F's and T's and all those, and even in the long screams feel, you can see it also cuts some things there to make it just sound overall more clean and better and less harsh. Next I use the Ultra Maximizer, also from Waves. This is a very subtle plugin, but it does help. It makes it, you know, louder and more upfront. And I use auto release too here. And now the saturation knob, it's pretty simple. It's just a knob, you know. I like to keep the saturation type on high, sometimes neutral though, and then saturate it a lot. Now keep in mind, when you saturate, it increases the volume level quite a lot. So that's why I use the Fruity Balance afterwards to make up for that, by reducing like minus 10 dB, so the saturation will still be there, but the volume level will still be like how it was before the saturation. And then in the end I use a limiter, again just a vocal limiter, just because I like to still keep the vocal levels clean. So when I master and put effects on the master channel, I can, you know, enhance it even more to make it fit better into the mix. In reality, you really don't want to do too much to your screamed vocals. The reason I don't use distortion is because these vocals are already pretty distorted by themselves, but you can definitely play around with them. Distortion. The structure even has some really cool presets that you can use, even though it's mainly for guitars. You can use it for vocals to experiment, but generally I just like to use saturation and not any distortion. Maybe a little distortion on the master, but yeah, that's not just the vocals, that'll be the whole track, so that will seem more natural. Again, my name is Untitled, thank you for watching to the end, and I hope I'll see you again.